A very good evening to you, and thank you so much for joining us on this edition of Spectrum, live on Radio 1 FM 90, broadcasting from the Central Building in the heart of the city, Kampala, live on its website, www.radio1fm90.com. You click on the icon with the word Listen Live. Now, Radio 1 is also coming to you live via your TV set. That's if you have a DSTV connection, you look for audio channel 897. You'll be able to get us there. But we are also live on the different radio listening apps, which you can obtain from the App Store of your smartphone. Look for any, download. You'll find Radio 1 FM 90 in there. And as long as you have an internet connection, you'll be able to listen to us from anywhere across the globe. Now, today we commemorated Uganda Matyrs Day, and indeed the commemoration is still going on in different aspects. We know the Uganda Matyrs were 22 Catholic and 23 Anglican converts to Christianity in the Kingdom of Buganda, now part of Uganda as we know it. They were executed between the 31st of January 1885 and the 27th January 1887. And now they were killed on the orders of the then Kabaka of Buganda, Mwanga II. The killings are said to have taken place at a time when there were a three-way religious struggle for political influence at the Buganda Royal Court. So there were Anglicans there, Catholics, and the Muslims. Now, a few years after that incident, the Church Missionary Society from Britain used the killings to push for wider public support for the British acquisition of Uganda as part of the British Empire. And the Catholic Church beatified the 22 Catholic Uganda Matyrs in its faith in 1920, and they were canonized in 1964. Now, beyond the annual pilgrimage to Namgongo, the event is seen as an economic opportunity for both country and citizens, especially those that live and work near the shrines in Namgongo. Now, it has been argued that this event can be a huge game changer for our country via what is called dark tourism. Now, this includes showcasing disaster sites, battlefields, prisons, graveyards, crime scenes, concentration camps in other countries, natural disaster sites which are normally preserved for purposes of tourism, and themed museums. So what do we need to do as a country to be able to get more from the dark tourism beyond what we have today? I know there's a debate going on about whether these people were martyrs or not, but that's not our business today. We want to see what we can get out of this as a country. Two guests in studio, and I will introduce them. Let me begin with Patriot Sempewa. Patriot Sempewa is a heritage connoisseur. He's a founder of Semagulu Royal Museum. He served as Deputy Executive Director at Uganda Tourism Board. Good evening, Patriot Sempewa. It's a pleasure having you today.
Good evening, listeners. I'm so excited. Welcome back from Namugongo. I'm in high spirits because I've spoken to Ugandans and they have confirmed my earlier thinking, which I've brought to tell you today. Welcome back from Namugongo, guys. It was wonderful. In particular, thank you, bar owners, for respecting and not blasting music during Mass. You behaved very well. Welcome back, Ugandans from Namugongo.
So you were actually in Namugongo?
I'm in charge of stopping music while the Mass is playing, and the Mass is going on. The bar owners know me, I know them, and everybody behaved well today.
Describe for us your man of dressing today. It's interesting.
I'm dressed the same way Kabaka Mwanga was dressed on 3rd June 1886 when the Matyrs were sentenced at Munyonyo. Yes, this gown is special. Yes, that is my dressing today.
That's your dressing today.
Yes.
Also in studio, we have Dr. Peter Bamweda. Dr. Peter Bamweda is a lecturer at School of Economics, College of Business and Management Science, Makerere University. Good evening, sir. Thank you so much for joining us.
Yeah, good evening, listeners, and thank you for having me.
And I want to confirm to the listeners that none of us is dressed like Mukajanga. Yeah. Gentlemen, let's kickstart the discussion, and I want to begin with you, John Sempewa.
Please don't call me John.
Patriot Sempewa.
Yes.
I beg your pardon.
Patriot.
Uganda Matyrs.
Yes.
People have argued that beyond this being a religious activity, it's actually something that can be very useful for our country. There's already something being done about it, but the debate is whether we are doing enough to get what we should from this as a from the concept of dark tourism?
First of all, if you're in business like me, the word enough doesn't exist. The sky is the limit. Everybody who has a business, however much money you're making, you want to make more. Today, I counted offhand about 600 high-end foreigners. If you have a figure bigger than that, let me know.
600?
And I was using, my form of estimate could have been erroneous. But by high-end pilgrim, I mean somebody who's not staying at the shrine, somebody who's paid a hotel of at least 200,000 and above, somebody who's hired an Uber or who's traveled by air. I usually do a head count. I think I saw about 600 at the Catholic shrine. 600. Now, that is a very small number. The world over has over 1 billion Catholics. And why am I insisting on this Catholic thing? Global appeal. Starting with the Muslims, there is division in Uganda about whether they are shuhada or not. The word shuhada in Arabic simply means matter. When you go to old Kampala, they say, yes, these are our matters. The Kibuli story is different. So I will not discuss a strategy for the Muslim matters. The Anglican matters are not known beyond Ugandan borders. They have not been, I don't know the process, how Anglicans declare matters. I don't know, but I'm sure Canterbury, I'm green here. I don't know if we are still under Canterbury or if Church of Uganda is independent from Canterbury. Maybe the professor knows, I don't know. But Canterbury has not recognized the Anglican boys. The only Uganda matters with a global appeal are the Catholic matters. Like you have said rightly, they were canonized in 1964, and Kabaka Mutesa too attended that function. For those of you who don't know, to be canonized, you must go through you must perform miracles. And there are 2 miracles performed. The nuns at Tubaga treated plague. And the doctor in charge was a Muslim. And he confirmed that, yes, something out of the ordinary had happened. The second miracle happened close to Rakai. The late Mutagamba took me there and I saw the man who was born lame. And then through prayer by the Banda sisters, he healed. So they are matters of the global Catholic Church recognized by Vatican, which controls over 1 billion loyal Catholics. Now, these Catholics all over the world, at least 100,000 of them, 100 million of them, are able to travel for religious purposes. That's how big the market is. How much do we have so far? 600 out of 100 million. That is, if it was an exam, the professor will tell you, you have failed miserably. But where are these Catholics going? They will go to Jerusalem. They will, especially, why? Some of them will even go to Brazil for that one statue. Why? Fellow Ugandans, trust me when I say this, the average Catholic out of Uganda, in countries whose GDP per capita, you said the professor is a professor of economics. I'm sure we'll speak the same language today. The average Catholic in a country whose GDP per capita is more than $10,000 per year, and that country has over 10 million Catholics, that average Catholic doesn't know about the Uganda Matters. So that is our first challenge, that we have to sell something which is unknown. Okay? Now, because it is unknown, if you rang randomly any bishop in like Brazil today, tell him, hey, today we were, they don't know. So we're not doing well. We're not doing well at all. We have to get these numbers up. I don't know if your question was how do we get the numbers up, but that is the scenario.
All right, you have given us a
600 out of 100 million. The percentage is even below 0.06%.
All right. Yeah. Let's hear from Dr. Babyenda. Your quick analysis of the situation from an economic point of view.
Yeah, it is feasible, as he has rightly said, saying he counted 600 foreigners, and this is the estimate. But also look at the entire number. Close, I saw in the yesterday, I saw in the news they were talking about 690, close to 1 million. So these are high numbers. So it is feasible using the Uganda Matyrs case. But we have others, other scenarios that we can benefit if we are to take this dark tourism forward. But as it is dark, of course, always there is mixed reactions. There are those who are saying, why should we commercialize human suffering? Then there are those who are saying that no, it has no problem. Let's do it. From the economic point of view, I think if we do it well, escalate and the concerns and the rest, I think this is an area that we can benefit from using the Uganda Matyrs as a case. But we have others. Look at the Konyi scenario in northern Uganda. You have the Ruwero Triangle. You have the Kigwetere murders massacre. You have the torture chambers and all that. Of course, some countries have tried to take an advantage of this, of these scenarios, starting from our neighbors, Rwanda, the Kwivika, which is a very popular, and they have marketed it. I think that's what the party was telling us. Even now with our Uganda Matyrs, we have not yet marketed it very well. And this goes to the funding to the sector. But I think we shall be talking about that. Then, for example, those which they tell us, they are means, torture chambers and all that, that could be interesting to both the locals, especially the younger people, to go and see and learn from our past experiences, but also the foreigners. I have seen one in Zanzibar for the slave trade. And when you go there, they tell you the slaves would come, would be put here, and then they would go through those where they would chain them. And when I was there, I counted so many people. So I think the tourism board needs to take up this, but it calls for a lot of preparation. We need to document these dark moments. We need to document them very well. We need to have clear storytellers, those who so that the story is clear, so that it is not fabricated to favor some other narratives. So and then after that, so that means we map out them, document them, prepare those sites. Just as you see the Uganda Matyrs case, up to, at least now it is improving, but those days you'd find accommodation and all that. Some people would leave their houses
and hire them and rent them out.
So you can see that is a possibility, telling you that this sector, if well developed, can be a game changer.
All right, Patriot Sempebwa.
Allow me to first disagree. You see, the reason why I didn't just PhD is that I'm so much on the ground, and I'm from Namugongo right now. I want to disagree that this is not dark tourism for our Uganda Matyrs. We were celebrating dark tourism is when you go to a site like Kigali Genocide Museum, and the mood is somber. People are recalling negativity. According to what is at Namugongo, it is a celebration.
I think it's a mixture of emotions.
It is a celebration. The guy selling meat, the guy selling beer, the dancing, the girls, and now they're dressed. We're not going to market this thing as dark. No. Canonization. The moment you're canonized, we are celebrating the fact that the country visited by the first country visited by the Pope was Uganda. We're celebrating the fact that 3 million Africans can converge on one spot to celebrate, and nobody goes to Namugongo to remember bad things. No, they go to celebrate. It is a celebration. So there I mark my first disagreement. I'm not going to go into technical definitions, but Namugongo is not dark tourism. No, faith-based tourism is not dark tourism. I disagree totally. No, it is hopeful. You're hoping that things are going to be better. All of these Ugandans that have carried water, they are taking that water because they want their lives to be better. So mark my first disagreement there. Now you can ask your questions.
All right. So how do we change this situation? You seem to all agree that we can actually do much better, but there seems to be factors that are hindering that.
I have a simple formula that I'm going to start. I'm so motivated. I hope God gives me the energy to knock onto people's offices. I have developed a formula called the 3 S's. The first S is the sights. When a tourist comes to your country and you want them to spend a lot of money, you must have a trail. You must have a trail. Now, there are so many sites related to the Uganda Matyrs, which most people don't know. Way back, I was going to Murchison Falls one day. So I stopped by Woblenzi, and people identified me. They said, hey, you man who loves the Uganda Matyrs, we have a place here. I'm like, what are you talking about? I only know Namugongo. We drove inside to a place called Waluleta, and I found a church where the Mata Kizito was raised. Recently, I went to near Ampiji. A nun told me, no, Kizito was born this side, and I've never gone there myself. I went to Mitiana, and they showed me the grave. I used to think all the Matyrs were killed in Namugongo. No, Mawagali's grave is in Mitiana. Now, there are over 50 sites. When you go to Masaka, Akusaza, at the, that place, that's where Bruno was born. So there are many places that we have to develop and pump up this story. Okay?
I'm looking at your picture where you're standing near what is called the Birinzi Shrine.
Yes. Birinzi Shrine, again, when I don't have a degree or in this matter, but I've gone around every site in Uganda related to these matters, where they were born, so I went to Mbirizi, St. Charles Luanga, close to Masaka. I think that's where he lived. But the Christians in Masaka, they go there, a few of them, but there is no story. You know what I'm saying? So my first suggestion is the sites in Kalangala.
So we should prepare a trail.
The trail
clearly marked.
And the sites should have monuments, stories, artifacts. That is going to cost us about, in my estimate, about $60 million to improve these places. In northern Uganda, 2 boys were killed during the Lamogi rebellion. Janan site, all of these religious sites must be brought to a certain standard. That is the first S. Now, the second S is, I've had him mention it, is the story. To make these staunch Catholics in America, in Brazil, to make them each every year to come down. People have been theoretically saying, people should be coming down throughout the year. But let's feel that June, okay? Now, the best way to tell this story in this age is not to advertise it on CNN. No, that's not where people are. All over the world, people are on their phones. And what are they watching on their phones? Interesting clips, interesting movies, short stories. Whether we like it or not, we have to think of a blockbuster series or a movie. There is a Ugandan I always talk about. His name is Matt Bish. A simple Ugandan who's gotten his small resources and helped this country to do a film about Janan Luwum. Now, if I were, next week we have Heroes Day or something, I would make this guy a national hero, Matt Bish. Matt Bish needs support from the ministry to go and launch that movie in London, so that the Anglicans see the story of Janan, and then is pushing this day so that they go to Gulu Kitgum. Okay? Now, for the Uganda Matyrs, we have so many young boys in Uganda who have perfected the art of script writing. I want to call upon the head of this communications, Mr. Nyombi Tembo, if you're listening
UCC,
to me.
Uganda Communications Commission.
Put up a fund. They usually support filmmaking. Put up a fund for the best script on a Uganda movie, best script on a series, and let Ugandans compete because you have the money. But I don't want to say put in the wrong places. This year, we can get companies that will benefit. the Totals, the Uganda Airlines, create a fund and let the youth compete for best script. And then with this best script judged by whoever is good at script judging, we go and lobby a producer somewhere in Hollywood, somebody who can talk to Will Smith, somebody who can talk to Kevin Hart, somebody who can talk to The Rock. These are I want to see as Mukajanga Rick Ross. That's where I'm thinking. Now, once this movie,
why can't you be Mukajanga? Why is it?
I do not have followers.
A foreigner.
I do not have followers in California.
There should be an organic Ugandan.
I do not have followers in China. Rick Ross, the people I'm talking about have followers, and that's what we are banking on. Once this movie is out, every Catholic will know about the Uganda Matyrs. Have you seen the movie called The Passion of Christ? Do you know how Jesus was beaten? Does Jat compete with those guys who beat up Jesus?
No.
They definitely don't. The way they beat up Jesus, trust me, I cried. And the next $1,000 I get, I'm going to that place where they hanged him, and I want to see his grave. I'm itching. I've never been there. So you have to make these people feel that if they don't go to Namugongo, they are missing out. The best way to fulfill this second S is the movie. Then the third S is salesmanship. At my local church, I'm a Catholic, although I also practice African spirituality. You know, the African spirituality is laughing. You know, these professors.
No, even at Namugongo today, President Yoweri Museveni said that most people are Christians during the day and at night.
No, even during the day.
They are worshiping other spirits.
Because of ignorance.
You could be one of them.
African spirituality is Ubuntu. Yes, right now I'm here with my professor, wishing him well. That is Ubuntu. Yes, so I go to a shrine, I go to a church as well. I'm not ashamed of it. Yes, the Catholic Church doesn't say that if you go to, and for us in the African spirituality, we welcome Catholics and we are always with them. It's okay. So the second thing is salesmanship. The third S, salesmanship. How do we sell this story? I was telling you at my local Catholic church today, there is a poster of Rwanda Tourism Board or Rwanda Church inviting Ugandans. They have a place where the Holy Spirit appeared in Rwanda, something like that. So they are already aggressive here, but we are not aggressive with them. When I was Deputy CEO of UTB, me and Honorable Kiwanda went to Nigeria. Today I saw very few Nigerians. I don't know why they are not coming anymore. So we went there, presented to them, and they used to be quite many. I don't know what's happening now. So we need now to start selling this thing. How do we sell it? The Catholic Church, my church, is very organized. They are headed not by the Archbishop, but by a secretariat in Zambia, started by the Mill Hill Fathers. They are coordinated, and through them, we can start by inviting all the archbishops of these countries whose GDP, like I said, is above 10,000 per capita, and they have over 10 million Catholics. Invite them at our cost for the ceremony next year as we start. So
even for a separate ceremony, that's
that one. They should see it. Now, when they see it, we're like, now, Chief, next year we are going to bring posters to your churches, and please encourage. These churches are business entities. We give them a commission that for every individual from your country, your church will get a contribution from us of this amount. We are lucky that in the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, there's a young man there who is the permanent secretary, Mr. Waiswa. He's so spot on. This is an idea he will accept and ask the embassies on our behalf to distribute those posters at the churches, and our ambassadors to go into those churches and speak to Catholics. Say that in 2 years' time, when the movie is out, and we're using the church to sell this idea, our embassies are working, our number should double and even increase so that we have at least 50,000 foreigners. Do you know what will happen to the economy in Kampala in 1 week when you have 50,000 foreigners spending at least $2,000? Do the math.
All right, Spectrum on Radio 1 FM 90. Let's go for a break now. When we return, we'll hear more also from Dr. Babyenda how we can improve our marketing, because not only is it an impediment to the success of the Uganda Matters, but the tourism sector as a whole, where we have a competitive edge over other countries across the globe. Stay tuned, Radio 1 FM 90. We continue after this break. Thank you so much for staying with us on this Matters Day as we discuss issues to do with the tourism and how as a country we can reap from events like commemoration of Uganda Matters Day, since it's not only focusing on religion but also other aspects that come with tourism. My guest this evening, Patriot Sempewa, heritage consumer, founder of Semagulu Royal Museum, former Deputy Executive Director, Uganda Tourism Board. Also in studio, Dr. Peter Babyenda, lecturer, School of Economics, College of Business and Management Sciences, Makerere University. We were at a point where we were trying to understand what tangible things need actually to be done in order to push our tourism sector up there, because one would argue at the moment we are only focusing on the low-hanging fruits, things that can easily be done, like national game parks, a few things here and there. Dr. Babyenda.
Yeah, thank you so much, and I want to thank the Patriot.
And just to remind the listeners and you yourself, the tourism sector has been identified as one of the flagship areas for the new government strategy of growing the economy tenfold within the next 1 decade.
Yeah, highly emphasized in NDP4, and various interventions have been highlighted in NDP4 to see how we improve our tourism, including working on the tourism roads and all these other issues that are impediments. But as he said, that one of the key things, as I also said earlier, is preparing our stories very well that can attract. You are selling a product. You want someone to leave from the US and comes to Kampala to see your product. So you really need to prepare it very well. So we need to train these people, the storytellers, document them. I think one time I was in Addis and I went to their museum, and that also calls that we need to build museums. And I spent, I think, that museum almost the whole day, reading stories which are just written in the museum, and the stories were about the Queen Sheba, how Queen Sheba went to Israel, I think, and met King Solomon, and then gave birth to their first king, and that's how even they were not colonized and all that. But the stories were very interesting.
The stories of the Meneliks.
Yes, very interesting, move from one to another. So we really need to prepare that, so that we diversify our tourism products and stop only depending on gorillas, which we are selling. Because when you see post COVID-19 recovery, starting from, if I can just start from 2022, we received around roughly around 800,000, 145 close their visitors, and these visitors mainly came to see national parks. When you see where they went, national parks.
44,000 in the national park.
No, I'm saying most of these largely we are going to see the but also the key reason of which we are bringing these people was largely to see their friends and family to reunite. But when they come here,
the diaspora people,
then they are able to say, let's go to Machizone Falls, let's go to Bwindi Impenetrable. So you can see the tourism sector is really a big sector that involves a number of players, and most of these ones are coming from Africa. So that means we still have, as Patrick has said, a long way to sell Uganda to those countries he has highlighted with the big GDP per capita. But they have also mentioned, like the Saudis and others have always complained of our hotel. Some of them saying they have nowhere to sleep. But I think now the hotels are improving. Our hoteliers, the attendants, our the institutions that train these people need to do more so that our those attendants in these hotels are up to the task. And you can see the numbers are increasing. For example, now I just said 800. You see now in 2023, we got around 1.2 million visitors. And also again, and when you look at the jobs in tourism, are above 600. Now, 600,000 jobs, if you compare them with the government jobs, you see, so the tourism sector, therefore, has a big potential.
All right.
If we did it very well and organize it.
Staying with you a little bit, you come from Bunyoro. There is a big story there in terms of tourism when we talk about Omukama Kabalega. And, we don't hear so much about it. Right now we hear a lot about oil in Bunyoro. But tourism, what's happening?
Yeah, we need to wake up, I think, as a kingdom. I know the kingdom has a tourism officer, but we need to do much more, as I say, to document. Of recent, of course, working with some colleagues from the University of London, we are trying to look at the role of women in Nyangere Rebellion, but we have failed to get information. What did women do in Nyangere Rebellion? So documenting is a serious issue, and selling ourselves. For example, we have Kabalega, as you have said, undocumented, and nobody talks about it. So that if we sold the Kabalega story very well, to me these visitors would come and would want to go out to Bunyoro and see where was this man staying.
One of the African icons.
Yes,
resistance.
The man who resisted the colonialists. Where was he staying? How was he commanding? We even have our, you have seen the gun we are using. We were the first, you have read stories, we were the first to conduct Caesarean and all that. All these are potentials for tourism if well organized.
Same paper. Please come closer to the mic. You say you wish you were Bunyoro.
80% of all Baganda came from Bunyoro, including Bobby Wine. Bobby Wine's name Chagulanyi is Bunyoro. It means Okugurana, to butter trade. Bunyoro is the center of our history. I wish I knew anybody there. The things to be done.
You are meeting Mr. Babienda here.
Immense. Bunyoro Tourism Board, if it existed, if I those are my wishes. Anyway, I want to thank the late Archbishop Nkoyoyo. He did a lot of research, and he's the brain behind the Matyrs Museum. We now have a
museum,
and I think the artwork was done. It's just that he has not collected enough relics. You know, tourism is experiential. At my museum, I have Ben Kiwanuka's car. I do not just tell you about Ben Kiwanuka, but when I show you his car, that's how it works. So he needs help on relics to have more items. But at least he left this world leaving us on a nice way. The nice path. The Matyrs Museum exists. Uganda has a new communication team. Have you heard about it? There was a team of professionals. I liked the makeup. There was Mr. Kahiru, Mr. Kahiru, whom we know and who have worked with for a long time, is the head of this committee. This is what, this is the kind of job that this committee should take on to communicate. We cannot leave it to Uganda Tourism Board alone. No. There are stakeholders like the Catholic Church, the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, like I said, this new communication committee. These are things, because they have audience with the president. I'm sure if they went and presented an economic case for these Uganda Matyrs, I think the president would listen to them instead of listening to people like us. So we, fellow Ugandans, we have an asset which has a potential greater than coffees. Yes, and you can't exhaust it. Oil will one day get exhausted, but this story will live on forever. But we cannot benefit from it until we exploit it. And I think this was our discussion today. What must we do? We are happy that we're getting local Ugandans going there in their millions. But on average, I was observing, each of them has about 50,000 shillings to spend in 4 days. Now, well, the small people selling Rolex and all these things have benefited today, but the bigger picture that can transform the economy, we need spenders. The spenders are not going to come from Uganda. No, the spenders are going to come from these countries that I've described, and I think I've already told you. But I want to congratulate you, sir, that today we are not here to discuss whether they are matters or not. That debate is superfluous. Hey, and my Baganda friends keep telling me, no, these were not matters, these were... That debate has been overtaken by events. It was overtaken the moment Kabaka Mutesa attended their canonization. So this year I look forward to engaging so many officers. I look forward to writing to Mr. Nyombi Tembo to put up a fund for this, the film I've talked to you about, the script. We have a Ugandan who championed Katwe. Remember that film? It was called, it was about chess.
The one of chess.
Now, that very Ugandan, I'm told she's Indian-ish. She has the connections in Hollywood to pull this off. I wish I had her number to kind of interest her into this issue, so that the average Catholic worldwide can get to know about our Uganda Matyrs.
All right, very quickly. As we move forward, what kind of lessons can we get? How do we prepare better? Some countries have been marketing using their embassies abroad. Some people have been hiring, big communication companies abroad. I think we also did the same here, but mainly to deal with our image as a country. But we want to look at how we can aggressively borrow the leaf of countries like Rwanda, Kenya. There are so many other countries out there, Tanzania, to actually move out there with a bang.
Yeah, the key thing is to first organize ourselves so that when these visitors come, they get what they expect. By the way, we have so many sites around. When you go to some of these sites, you see that we still have a lot of work to do. For a big spender, when he comes in such a site, you look at the accommodation around. And when you compare it, for example, with our neighbors Rwanda, when you see their hotels sometimes, especially on the sites. For example, if I give you an example of a site like the Wind Impenetrable, if you are there, you may not, if the big spender has come, may not have where to sleep. So that's one. So we need to organize ourselves, identify these sites, map them, organize them, and prepare them for the visitors. Then we need to document our stories, as I said. We have talked about having films, documentaries, just like we had, for example, The Last King of Scotland. That has done a lot. The Coney 2012, then you have the 27 guns that has been done. So that one can easily sell the Luero Triangle and others. You heard of the issue of Kasensero, landing site, the HIV, where the first HIV person and all that. These are all things we have been saying that we can have and diversify. We have, luckily we have our Uganda airline back. That is also one of the things that can sell us. So within the Uganda airline, we need to be playing some of these adverts, talking about our identity and all that. But also us, we also need to have that hygiene that encourages someone to visit. Because sometimes when you look at the stories that comes from our side here, most of those stories, sometimes I really feel for the tourism players. Here you are there, you just hear maybe a story that now there are some terrorists who are around. You are there, then you hear of Ebola outbreak, you hear. So there are so many things, then the tear gas and all that. So we need to organize if we are to reap from tourism, because tourism has a potential. One time I remember the president when he was talking to people in Kasese, and he gave an example that a tourist can be moving around and then he drops $100 and then you pick it. But if you can interpret that, it means that if I have come, because the tourist comes to spend. If a tourist has come in Kasese, say with and given our exchange rate, if a tourist just came here with went to Kasese with $500 he will cause a lot of change there. So we need to prepare all our players in this sector, train them, prepare our messages very well, prepare our image as a country, use our Uganda airline, use our embassies abroad, use our, because we are lucky we have our sportsmen, especially in athletics, our man from Kapchorwa, and others. These are other people can use as a way of carrying our message. Wherever we win gold, and we take that advantage. So we just need to, as I've told you, these things have been well highlighted and captured in NDP4. So we only await that they will be supported very well and then moved forward.
All right. Very quickly, the lady you were talking about is actually called Meera Nair, the Indian film producer. Meera Nair. She's the one that is behind Queen of Katwe. She actually has a film lab here called Maisha Film Lab, which has an office here located in Uganda. It's actually located in Buziga alongside Maisha Film Lab. I think those are the kind of people that the government should cooperate with to be able to produce this kind of film. Closer to the microphone, Patrick Sempero.
Allow me to widen this debate.
Please.
Now, you talked of image of Uganda. Very few people are willing to dare risk talk about that. Many countries do trackers. In fact, when we were duty, we used to do trackers in very many countries. You send university students in those countries to go and ask spenders what they think about Uganda. Now, the surveys coming out, when you ask the Germans what you know about Uganda, you know what they said? The Amin, poor governance, very bad things.
Those who are talking about Idi Amin, I think if we had an Amin trail, we'll be interested in coming to Uganda.
Let me build my point. What has gotten us to this bad event? Neo-colonialism. What do I mean? We were told to embrace democracy the way they have defined it. In Uganda, democracy means political parties. Yesterday I was watching something in Barara where somebody has been dying to be a head of a political party, which is surely going to get less than 3% in next year's election. And people are there shouting at each other. Democracy hasn't worked for us. We need to sit down and think of an alternative governance system. Because let me take you back to the 1885 Berlin Conference. We were forced to be one country, and there are so many things that have failed to unite us. Now, when you come in with your democracy, that is where you have complaints of nepotism. When this tribe comes into power, you know what's happening. I don't have to repeat these things. We need a governance system whereby Bobby Wine should not be looking at Nani at MK as an enemy at this stage, and MK wouldn't be wanting to put people in the basement and teach them a certain language, so that we are united on one cause. People have fronted federal, but when I went to actually discuss federal, I was almost stunned. So federal, people think that when you say federal, you're helping Buganda. No, we need a system which has some hygiene, political hygiene, so that this nepotism can reduce and we start thinking of developing together. Now, when we sort out that governance issue, we shall then be focused on debates like we have had today. You look at the debates you have here every day. The hottest ones are political. You rarely have debates like this which are economics. Why? Walk around Kampala today, what will you see? Posters. People are living gainful. Are you going to stand for MP, by the way? Everybody wants to be for MP. Money has Professor, I also going to stand for MP. So we need to have some rethinking of our politics. So that before the colonialists came, we were stable here. We had our kings. There was no. Do you know how much we are going to spend on next year's election? 1.3 trillion shillings. We are too poor to have 500 members of parliament. That's true. We are too poor to have, what are they called, DRC, RDC, Deputy RDC, PISO, GISO, QSO, EMSO. The governance system we have is too expensive and too divisive. That is what causes this negative image.
Dr. Babenda, this man is speaking like someone wants to become the Lord Mayor. So we need to rethink our governance system. You think there's something to do with the challenges we have? We are not putting the economy at at the far front, where we know would make a livelihood for more people? Dr. Avienda?
Yeah, you know the political economy is very important, and that's why you had during our last graduation saying the political economy should be taught across. So you know, politics moves. I mean, drives. Actually, almost everything in the country. So as the politics are clear, as you have said, you have clear governance. There are no many issues. Someone who is coming to spend his money will really consider the environment, where I am going. There's no threat, so I will be able to spend my money very well. But as I said, as a country, I think we are very blessed.
All right.
Whereas we have the nature, but also our dark stories that we have, we can actually use them. We can turn them into a tool of economic development, just as we are seeing. Education, remembrance, and they can also help us now coming to governance to learn from our past so that those mistakes never return. For example, those torture chambers we are talking about of Amin.
All right. 2 comments coming in. Though tourism has been highlighted, the current set of politicians are not business-oriented. Those shrines are given very little money. There is no accommodation in Namgongo. Today, President Yoweri Museveni announced that the 3 denominations are going to start receiving annual allocation in the budget: 2 billion to the Catholics, 2 billion to the Anglicans, and 200 million to the Muslims. He actually says when the Muslims are ready to develop their shrine, the government will stand in and provide the funds required. So there's commitment on the part of funding towards Namugongo. There's going to be an annual allocation. We have a comment coming in from Jeff, listening in from Bari, who says, good evening. Uganda has many beautiful tourist sites like the Source of the Nile and Namugongo Matyrs Shrine, but the government hasn't done so much to develop them. Instead, they're spending money on MPs and advisors. Our city, Kampala, is also in bad shape with potholes and poor planning. This makes it hard to attract tourists. We need to fix our cities and promote tourism better. Quick response to this before we actually get out of this.
Thank government for 2 billion, but that 2 billion is for the event. That 2 billion, I think the president, I don't know his number, if I could call him, we need more money for the 3 S's. Apart from the event, the sites, you know, the story, and then the sailing. Maybe he will reconsider and up that budget a bit. But, you know, for us, we don't complaining is not part of our... The little is welcome, but my problem is it is all going to be spent on the event. Yeah, so that may not have economic... what do you call it? Trickle down. I used to be an economist. They want to be a trickle downs of that 2 billion. So we need more money to market this thing worldwide.
All right, Dr. Bavenda. Quick response?
Yeah, I am in agreement with most of the comments and in agreement with the Patriot. I think we need to sell ourselves, to actually take the 3 S's he has suggested, fund them, organize ourselves, then the sky can be the limit.
All right. Very quickly, your closing remarks as we come to this the end of this discussion.
Thank you for inviting me to share my views, you know. But I want to thank Ugandans. Ugandans, we are united. We are one and the same. The education we received was a bit misleading, but every day we are waking up to realize we all came from the Nile Valley. Beyond NRM, beyond all this fighting on the streets, Uganda will still be there. Okay, don't be deceived by anyone to take a panga to cut anyone. All that is beyond us. Today I saw unity. The Karamojong were dancing with the leaders from Lugazi. On the Anglican side, the Northerners were dancing. Today, we have exhibited national unity. Whatever you do on the street, think Uganda first. That is my closing message.
I agree with him that of recent, last time I saw a story where they said close 10,000 Ugandans were denied visas to go to Dubai for holiday. But you know, for example, as you say that you come from Bunyoro, if you look at Ulisa, for example, the sand we have, can't we turn that sand into some of these games that we want to go to Dubai to play? So the whole thing is less organized. We can, tourism presents a big potential for us.
All right. With that, we come to the end of this show. Let me thank you, gentlemen, for actually turning up to come to this studio to discuss this issue. Let me thank the listeners for tuning in and contributing to this discussion. I hope this discussion has enriched some people who have been listening out there, and maybe by the time we hold the next celebration of Uganda Matyrs Day, there will be something different to be done, or something different done to be able to have things a little more much better. But like the gentleman said here in studio, we all have one country, and let's aspire to keep it peaceful, which will also require a number of changes in the way we do things, including our governance. Thank you so much for tuning in. I've been your host, Kenneth Anderson Lukwago. From me and gentlemen in studio, we wish you